Hello, everyone, and welcome to our ninth and possibly last webinar of our FOCAP-sponsored series, Gallery Conversations. We are talking about a couple of additional possibilities for virtual programs, and we'll certainly let you know about that as soon as possible. Today, we are pleased to present a closer look at the exhibition Breathtaking. It's a beautiful display that is currently on view at the Museum of Art on Santa Fe's Plaza. There are 18 artists and 45 individual pieces of work in the show. And Mark White, our executive director of the Museum of Art, has this to say about Breathtaking. The act of respiration has become increasingly complicated in American culture. Breathtaking not only takes into account recent events, but also the philosophical and spiritual ramifications of breath. And we are today incredibly fortunate to have an in-depth conversation between Katherine Ware, who is the curator for Breathtaking, and Jill OBryan, one of the artists featured in the exhibition. I would also like to take a moment to urge everyone to see this exhibit in person. There are just so many intriguing and subtle aspects to the show and much of the work that is shown, and it needs to be seen up close and personal. I was able to go this past weekend to see it and was so incredibly glad I did. The museum felt really safe and uncrowded. But if you do need to wait just a little bit longer for safety's sake, this exhibition is open until September 5th, 2021. But I urge you not to wait, go as soon as possible. Also, a small reminder that this is meant to be an interactive conversation with all of you. And at some point during Kate and Jill's conversation, you should all be encouraged to submit questions through the Q&A link. You'll find it at the bottom right of your Zoom screen. Just scroll over it and it will pop up if you don't see it right away. We'll be monitoring these throughout the presentation. And we also realize that some of you are joining us today as guests of FOCAP and our members. And we would certainly love it if you might consider becoming a member. There are so many benefits. They can be tough to keep track of, but they include artist studio tours, art-focused field trips, house parties, and educational opportunities like these virtual conversations, and many, many more. FOCAP has also sponsored more than 35 exhibitions at the museum and will be involved in upcoming activities at the new Vladam Contemporary opening in 2022. The easiest way to join is to contact Kristen Graham and the Museum of New Mexico Foundation. You'll find her email address on the slide in front of you. You can also look for our webpage at museumfoundation.org. And now I'm extremely pleased to introduce you to Katherine Ware, who is Senior Curator of Photography at the Museum of Art. And her creativity, planning, and expertise made this very unique exhibition come to fruition. Kate has had an extensive career in museums such as the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the J. Paul Getty, the Oakland Museum, and several other institutions. Specializing primarily in American and European photography of the early 20th century, she has organized and written about many exhibitions, both historic and contemporary. Kate is now researching a possible future exhibit on mixed media photography from the 1960s and 70s. Katherine Ware will introduce Jill O'Brien, whose work is a core part of breathtaking. I'm looking forward to their conversation and learning much more about Jill and her art practice. Welcome, Katherine and Jill, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Sean, for that nice introduction and your kind words, and especially for encouraging people to see the exhibition. And Jill's work in particular is very nuanced, and so ideally it is seen in person. We'll do our best with the reproductions tonight, and that'll give you a really good taste of it. But it's something you want to spend some quiet time with and really enjoy all the aspects of. So it's wonderful to have all of you with us tonight. I am not going to give too much of an introduction of Jill because nothing that I say will be nearly as interesting as what she has to say tonight. And I know that because I've been talking with her. So Jill is coming to us live from Las Vegas, New Mexico. And welcome to you, Jill. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's see. Yeah. So some of you who are local may have seen Jill's exhibition Mapping Resonance, which was on view at the Center for Contemporary Arts in Santa Fe in 2017, I think it was. And Jill has 6 works in the breathtaking exhibition that we were just talking about, and she'll talk about those as well. But Jill, your artistic practice has been inspired by breath for about 20 years. And so you and I decided it would be interesting to go back to the beginning and talk about really what stimulated that. So, and I'm going to be operating slides too. So if you see me shuffling around and looking down, audience, you'll know that I'm just keeping up, trying to keep up. So yeah, welcome, Jill.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Kate, and also the people at FOCA. And thank you, everybody, for coming to listen, turning on your computers to listen.
And our Cracker Jack behind the scenes team. We always appreciate what you do.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So should we start with the first slide?
Yes. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we were interested in thinking about where it all began and how it all began. So is everyone seeing the slide of Jill's work?
Yes, yeah.
Good.
I see it. So I'm assuming everyone else does. Okay, so yeah, so Kate and I have been talking, and we decided to contextualize the work in the exhibition by talking about the breath drawings from the beginning. And so I've included this slide because this is the first really significant breath drawing that I made. It took me 5 years to make this drawing. The installation shot you see is at the Kramarski Foundation, which was at 560 Broadway in New York. It's no longer there, and I really miss it. It was a very dynamic place. But this was a period of time, it was around 2000. I was in transition and really searching for a way to communicate through art making, something both personal, but also shared, essential, primal, and experiential, some sort of a universal experience. So around this time also, I began to meditate and really to understand what that meant. And it was just sort of an intuitive moment in my studio when I thought about combining the two. And this drawing is 40,000 breaths. I started at the top left corner and worked left to right, top to bottom, like you read, like you write. And the drawings are, so while I was making this drawing, I was actually really working out what this meant. what it meant to do something so rigorous as counting your breaths, and also performing something of such repetition.
Yeah, it is. It's a performance, and it is a very demanding activity, as I understand it.
Yeah, it is. Well, this one took me 5 years to complete. So I was really I was working it out, and I was also working out, coming to terms with whether or not I was sort of up to the task, of taking this project on and creating something so minimal. But I liked that the breath drawings I was excited about finding this new process, and I liked that they were both conceptual as well as process oriented. So they're made in marathon sessions, with a prolonged focus on breathing, with each breath, meaning one inhale and one exhale, a mark that in turn records a moment lasting the duration of that breath. And so that's important because the drawings are as much about time and recording time as they are about the body breathing. So key is that the recording of time and duration is dictated by the body. So the body is at the center of making these drawings. While I make them, I'm also acutely aware of the microgeometries that I make with each mark, as well as the collective geometry created with the accumulation of the marks. So you can see that this drawing is a grid, but it's an organic one. Okay, next slide.
Yeah, hold on one sec, Jill. I'm gonna unshare and reshare. People are asking if I can make it a little bigger. And let's find out. Yeah, let's find out the answer to that. But yeah, I love the factor of you have this marvelous idea of how to manifest breath and how to archive your breaths, and but then the question is, do you really want to live with that for the rest of however long? It's I like that there was a testing phase. That makes a lot of sense. And but you were also really striving to find your voice with this too, right?
Yeah, I was. I absolutely was. And the more I make them, the more that sort of comes to the fore. But I was experimenting with different kinds of breath marks and different sizes of paper. So I don't know, can you make that? So this is
and I mean, I'm always interested in how artists find ways to portray what we can't see, such as breath in this instance, which was kind of the inspiration for the show. And I was interested in what attracted you to using drawing and using the materials that you use. And then how did you arrive at this essentially monochromatic approach using very simple forms?
Okay, so that's a great question. So I originally started using graphite and paper because I thought of these drawings as archiving breaths. So the materials are greatly simplified so that the archiving process rings through. So I could go on forever about why graphite. It's this kind of magical material. I use graphite pencils and graphite and chunks of graphite for the rock drawings. And the pencils are actually made with graphite and clay.